Okay, guys, welcome back to the Nick and Joe Show. I'm Nick, he's Joe, and we're broadcasting to you from the center of the universe. Joseph is in our broadcast center there in Ottawa, and I'm in Bunker F, otherwise known as the family farm. We've been talking about a bunch of stuff in the first half hour, live radio, don't you love it? Dealing with a bunch of stuff. But we hinted at what we're going to talk about this segment, and I'm going to let Joseph introduce the topic. It's the Great Reset that Justin Trudeau's talking about. And during the break, Justin made a very good point. I'm not going to steal his thunder. So, Joseph, what are you talking about?
Oh, there you go. There's my mic switch on, Nick.
That helps. Are you telling me my mic wasn't on?
No. Your mic was on and my mic was off.
You forgot to turn yours on.
I was laughing. I was laughing when you said, and as I was laughing, I was noticing that my levels weren't changing on the computer screen. I'm going, okay, something's up with that. And usually, if you're listening to us, usually that's a bad sign. It means something's gone disastrously wrong, and we have to scramble to
figure
fix
it out.
Like a couple of months ago, we're in the middle of the show, and all of a sudden everything goes dead, and I can't figure out what it is. And then I realize I've kicked the plug when I was stretching with my feet under the desk. So
I remember that episode.
Jumped down under the desk, plugged everything back in, rebooted it, and it turned out to be about a 120 second, maybe a little bit more glitch. But we've had our growing pains here, and but we live and learn, and we have a bit of a smile on our face. And you know what? In the end, it's entertainment. It's like you say, Nick. It's live broadcasting, and we're having a good time doing it. Even though even when Nick gets on that typewriter of his and starts to blend or starts to blot everybody else out in. Because he's just so
I'm doing my best to stay off the keyboard, but once in a while I can't help myself.
Well, you have to touch type, Nick. Touch type.
You can touch this. This thing's not set up to touch.
I have to tell you,
my fingers don't touch type.
I have to tell you, Nick. I'm an animal lover. I'm not afraid of killing animals for food if I need to. But
that's my favorite way to love animals.
But that bird in the background there at your house, Nick. Okay,
I know.
I'm thinking that I could kill that bird and not eat it.
You'd have to get past my daughter. I wish that's Darcy, and he thinks he's Polly the parrot. He's up there, and just every once in a while he'll let out a squawk. If they start playing the piano or playing guitar, he starts to whistle along and hum along and bob to the music.
And anyway, let's get back on topic here, okay? So right. The Great Reset, and you know that you've said something that's gotten people riled up when Tucker Carlson focuses on you on his show, which he did, of course.
That's the truth.
With Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau talking about the Great Reset, and so I have a quote here. I have a segment here to play, an audio clip of part of the speech that he gave to the United Nations. Of course, he was not there in person this year. He did it by Zoom call or video call or whatever. But this is edited, so I don't want anybody to write to me and say or send us an email or whatever saying you guys are trying to deceive us. It was an edited audio clip. Well, I'm telling you, it's an edited audio clip for sure. So we're going to go right into that, okay? So here we go.
The last 6 months have laid bare fundamental gaps and inequities within our societies and between them. As with climate change, those who have the least are impacted the most. That's why last spring, Canada worked with Prime Minister Andrew Holness and Secretary General Antonio Guterres to convene a high-level meeting to discuss how leaders around the world could work together to close these gaps and build a better, more equitable system that works for everyone. Over the course of the summer, our 6 working groups produced over 250 policy options. On September 8th, finance ministers gathered to discuss these options and their recommendations for the short, medium, and long term. The most promising ideas will be taken up within existing IMF and World Bank processes, as well as at the G7 and G20 leaders' summits later in the fall. Then, in December, we're going to have the opportunity to meet again to discuss the progress we've made. Because we understand that right now we have to fix urgent problems, but in the long run, we also have to fix the system so that it works for everyone. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change. Building back better means getting support to the most vulnerable while maintaining our momentum on reaching the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the SDGs. Canada is here to listen and to help.
Okie doke. All right, so that is our very good friend Justin Trudeau, and as Nick was just pointing out to me offline, he couldn't hear that audio. So I knew Nick. I knew you couldn't hear the audio because I couldn't feel the vibrations, the earth shaking, as you were pounding away at your keyboard while he was talking. Does anybody this is a serious question. Am I the only person that just gets so irritated by his voice?
No, you're not.
Good grief, I'm telling you. Anyway, the Great Reset. So we listened to that clip. It was about 2 minutes long, and he's talking about how the pandemic has created a great opportunity for us to reset, have a reset of our economy and our system, so that we're dealing with the most pressing problems of inequality, extreme poverty, and climate change. He couldn't resist getting climate change in there on a couple of. So
just so you know, I did watch a 30-second clip during that,
right? And
I caught the heart of what he said,
right?
And you're right, steam was coming out of my ears.
I'll bet. Now,
I mean,
you'll notice. First of all, there are 2 very important observations that I want to make about his speech. And again, he spoke for 10 minutes or so. We just took some interesting points out of the audio to illustrate, the points that we're making here. But there were 2 important aspects to this that I want to bring to people's attention. The first is that he didn't actually say anything. He talked about the reset. He talked about how great an opportunity it was. He talked once more about how this is our chance to address extreme poverty, inequality, and global warming. And sorry, climate change, not global warming.
You were right the first time.
Okay, so 3-4 times he talks about this, and with such passion. Okay, and which leads me to ask the question: is the Great Reset really just the great virtue signal? Because there's no details here, none whatsoever. And this is something that this government, I think thankfully in many respects, has been very good at. They've been very good at promising to transform us into a kinder, gentler, more compassionate society, more equitable. No more inequity, no more... I was going to say no more blackface, but it's Trudeau, so we're not really sure, are we? So, but it's just we're just going to be the world leaders in Zen, a Zen society, okay? But they never deliver. They're very good at not delivering. Now, that doesn't mean that they haven't delivered some pretty disastrous stuff, and we can talk about that in a minute. But so that's point number one, is that he talks about the Great Reset, but as with other politicians, nobody really is saying what the Great Reset is. Okay. Which leads me to point number two. And again, Trudeau illustrates this, I think, spectacularly in his speech, where he lays out the order of what's been done in determining what the Great Reset is going to be. We've convened meetings. We've had these reports, over 200 policy ideas, and then finance ministers met to discuss these. We're going to be meeting again. We're going to be implementing and looking at how we could do this through IMF and banking structures, et cetera, et cetera. On and on and on. And what's missing from that? What's missing from what, if you take his earnestness as any indication, Nick, is going to be the greatest single transformation in human society, perhaps ever, but certainly since Jesus walked to the earth 2,000 years ago. Okay, that this is we are on the brink of utopia, but nowhere does he talk about putting forward in front of the people who are going to be affected by this Great Reset, who are going to have to pay for this Great Reset. Nowhere does he reference the voters, the people who are going to have to live with this. Nowhere does he talk about when we're going to get to see the plan and get to vote on it. No, the bureaucrats are working on it. The experts are working on it. They know better. They know better than you and I, Nick, what's good for us. Leave it to them. Everything will come out just okay. That's my Justin Trudeau imitation, by the way.
Yeah. They wrote a book about this kind of thing, right? Very popular book. It's called Animal Farm. Those are all the same. Yep. All the same arguments and logic they used in Animal Farm. And the farther down the road it went, the worse it got, but the better they said things were. And the parallels are amazing. And for those of you who haven't read Animal Farm, you need to.
Now,
you just do.
George Orwell, right?
Yeah, was it Orwell? Or he wrote 1984.
Right.
I'll look it up because I can.
Yes, you can, and we can hear you looking it up. And while Nick is looking that up, I have one more clip. Okay.
It is George Orwell.
Okay, I thought it was George Orwell. We have one more clip of Justin Trudeau, and this is an edited clip as well. And I managed to edit it down to about 20, 25 seconds. It was like a 5-minute answer to a question that a reporter had given him, and it was such a softball question. And I'm thinking, okay, it wasn't even. Where was this reporter? It was sort of like the reporter just sort of gave him the opportunity to introduce him giving a speech at a press conference. Pardon me, but this is for our listeners out there, and I want to stress this, Nick. This is not just Justin Trudeau. I mean, we're piling on Justin Trudeau now, but this is the Democratic Party in the United States. This is the radical agenda that they have, but more importantly, this is the depth of understanding. This illustrates the depth of understanding that these people who want to tear down our existing society and rebuild it in their utopian perfect image, this is an example of how much they really understand about how our society and economics works. Here we go.
As a federal government, given the historically low interest rates and the low debt servicing costs that we have, and given our extremely strong fiscal position going in, we decided to take on that debt to prevent Canadians from having to do it. We took on debt so Canadians wouldn't have to.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Did you catch that, ladies and gentlemen? We took on debt. The government took on debt so that Canadians didn't have to.